Good morning, everyone. Today we'll be presenting on Mo's beer. So Mo has seen significant growth since its inception in 2004, and this is evident from its total net revenue by a CAGR growth of 48.32% over the past 5 years. Also, Mo has increased its sales by volume significantly also over the years. Mo can achieve such success due to its 3 key competencies. The first one is premium brewing process, where it adopts a sophisticated method that extends its shelf life, and also it uses the best ingredients that they can source. Also, Mo is the leading New Zealand craft beer brand, and it has received a lot of awards from different places such as Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. Lastly, Mo has bold management style where they dare to be unconventional and innovative, evident from the fact that actually Mo has a lot of seasonal packaging and seasonal flavors. So, because of this key competency, Mo aspires to be a globally recognized beer brand, and currently its biggest export market is America. The USA contributes to 13% of its overall revenue. However, Mo beer market in America only takes about 0.02%. So this shows that Mo actually, given its top branding, can do more to increase its market share in America. So an analysis of the US craft beer market is that in America, the craft beer retail sales dollar has been increasing steadily, and also its craft beer market share within the beer category in the US has also been growing. And in the United States, currently in 2013, the biggest 8 group drinkers are the boomers, and millennials take 1/3 of the market share. However, it is projected to grow in 2015 when millennials will be the majority drinker of craft beer. This shows that there's a huge shift in demographics in craft beer drinkers, and it shows that there's a huge market potential for more to exploit the millennial sector. So what do the millennials want? 50% of the millennials in America drink craft beer, and they want high quality craft beer, and they want a craft beer with a story behind the food with authenticity, and also 47% of the millennials prefer drinking craft beer to mass market beer. This shows us that millennials care what's the story behind the beer and its journey, and therefore brands have to do more in terms of providing that to millennials, and don't just stop at providing a good tasting beer. So we have 2 targets in the Moa's 5-year plan. The first is to grow 0.4% of the US craft beer market in sales volume, and also increase 81.96% CAGR in terms of the US sales revenue. However, in order to achieve such target, the first issue we face is the saturation in the US beer market. Currently, there's 2,952 craft beer brewers in America, and therefore it's difficult for Moa to differentiate its products with other craft beers. Also, there's a weak brand recognition of Moa beer in America, and Moa only has 0.01% and in the US market share. This shows that the weak image that Moa has in America actually hinders it from its expansion. The second issue that we face is the inadequate distribution channels. Currently in America, a Moa distribution partner is St. Killian's. Even though St. Killian's actually distributes to 45 states in America, but it only distributes Moa in 2 avenues. The first one is Whole Foods Market, and the second one is Yard House. However, these 2 distribution channels do not actually fully target the millennials. For the Whole Food Markets, there are only 6% of the millennials who shop at such specialty shops. And for Yard House, it is a very upscale casual dining place, and therefore it only captures the niche millennial market who can actually afford such places to eat. So in order to overcome these 2 issues, this is our brief summary of our strategy.
Alright, so on one hand, we understand that Moa is actually a New Zealand beer company. On the other hand, it wants to enter into the US market. And today, our 3 recommendations will focus on localizing. Why is that so? Because we understand that Moa beer has its own culture, its identity in in New Zealand. And to bring that across, you need to localize the strategy to meet the consumer in the US. So let us begin with repositioning. This can be done by leveraging. This can be done by leveraging on Moa's brand image, such as the pride of New Zealand. This. Sorry.
Pause. Bro, you hear?
不懂。I think there's something. Okay 吗？ medical issue 这些。
okay. Sit down.
You need water. No, I can, bro. You just. How about someone present?
Right. So the story basically what we're trying to do is to localize Moa's image to suit the US market. What we're trying to do in this place is trying to reposition Moa's image in market by trying to sell the story that is a beer with a New Zealand story to sell. Now, to understand why we actually want to come up with this reposition is because we feel that there's a dissonance between Moa's portrayed image versus the targeted US consumers profile, and there seems to be a mismatch in trying to cater to the target audience in the US craft beer market. And so this is the current image of Moa portrayed by the company and its management. So Moa beer is portrayed as a very pure and natural craft beer, while the management is actually bold and politically incorrect. And it worked out well in New Zealand. We acknowledge that, but we feel that this is not how it's going to work in the US. As such, we understand that Moa currently positions itself as a super premium beer targeted at the high-end consumers in the beer market. However, we feel that its current positioning as a premium brand, as a premium craft beer, as a natural craft beer, does not allow it to compete effectively in the US market, where it's heavily saturated with premium beers, and the top 10 super premium beers in the US market control actually over 70% of the market share. And we feel that if it continues on this route, in the super premium route, in the US, Moa is not going to do as well as compared relatively to other regions. As such, we feel that it should reposition itself to meet this growing pool of US craft beer drinker, and which is the millennials.
Okay, so so we want to target US millennial drinkers, and we have classified them into 3 different categories, namely the adventurous drinkers, the aficionados, which are people who actually go specifically for craft beers, and thirdly, the working professionals. Now, here are some key characteristics that we have across these 3 groups of millennials. Firstly, they're 21 to 35 years old, and it caters to both genders, mainly male and female. They're also interested in the craft beer origin, its sources, and its heritage. And lastly, it's very key for us to target this group because it makes up 1/3 of the craft beer market drinkers in the US. So with this in mind, we want to bridge Moa's brand image of a New Zealand beer over to cater towards our US consumer base, which are the millennials. And that's why initially at the start of this recommendation, I talked about using New Zealand brand story, and this is where we can come in. So to show the to show Moa's beer personality and the New Zealand heritage, it can be done through different avenues such as the packaging, beer bottles, and advertisement. So this repositioning of Moa in the US beer market ultimately aims to target the US millennials so as to increase our sales volume.
So now we move on to redistribute. Redistribute is a hand-in-hand tied-in strategy with reposition, because is to give a brief overlay is to form a new distributor partnership to improve network in catering to our new target audience, which is the millennials. Now we take a quick look at Moa's current distribution channels. The key accounts that Moa has secured are Whole Foods Market and Yard House restaurants. And as previously mentioned, we acknowledge that it's catering to the high-end consumers that Moa wants to attract. But in terms of millennials, it's not doing as well in trying to attract this target audience. As such, we propose a change in Moa's distributor because we feel that with a new shift of focus of target audience to millennials, there's a need to actually find a distributor with a wider network that can cater to more millennials to complement with the aforementioned proposed change of image of Moa in the US market. As such, we will be evaluating the key players in the market. We have taken into account Anheuser, Miller Coors, Crown Imports, and also along with the current ones, St. Killian. And we are evaluating them on market presence, strength in distribution network, synergy of image with Moa in terms of how premium it still can portray as a craft beer in the US market, and also the potential for Moa to thrive in the partnership, which we really take strongly into account into how Moa can actually develop and grow as a craft beer segment within these key partners in the market. As such, we have identified Miller's Coast, and we feel that Moa should change from partnering from St. Killian to Miller's Coast instead. Why do I say so? Because we feel that it's going to be a mutually beneficial partnership with MC, and both parties will stand to gain from this partnership, especially for the case of Moa. They can tap on Miller's Coast wide distribution channels and strong market presence already to distribute its products in the US more effectively towards our growing group of audience, which is the millennials. And also, Miller's Coast can stand to benefit from Moa by leveraging on its success as an award-winning beer without it having to fully develop its craft, without fully having it to further fully develop its own craft division to compete in the US market. The ultimate angle of this new distributorship is for MOA to be able to reach out and cater to more millennials, and it is all in order to increase sales volume in the US. Now we move on to Reinvent, and basically the overlay is that we're trying to localize the taste of MOA to suit US consumers as a group in attracting US craft beer drinkers. So we have identified the top few American food that US consumers, as you all know, US is famous for their unhealthy food and whatsoever. And so these top three food that we have identified, sweet desserts, ice cream and hamburgers, are actually key ingredients and factors that we feel that we can incorporate into MOA. So we believe that MOA can actually tap on this food popularity and use these flavors to actually appeal to US consumers. So for sweet desserts, yeah, we can actually introduce something like a MOA chocolate edition. And for ice cream, we can actually introduce MOA vanilla and milk edition. And for hamburger, actually it's a bit more difficult and creative to implement. But yeah, we can implement something like cheeseburger edition. Yeah, I know right now what I'm saying is something more absurd and something which may not feel is very applicable in short run. But we recognize that it's increasingly difficult innovations from chocolate and then in trying to cater and suit the millennials and the US consumers' taste buds. But we believe that MOA's bonus, and it's also its push for innovation in trying to release new flavors and new seasons and news whatsoever, can make Reinvent a success in the US market. Because when we look deeper into US craft beer drinkers, we find that MOA really has considered the taste and preferences of US millennial drinkers, because more than 66% of them actually consider them to be very adventurous, in which they value variety, and it's much more important than brand loyalty when it comes to them. And also, in terms of taste and preferences, limited edition offerings in the US has been selling out more rapidly than other type of flavors. And so, we feel that reinventing and creating localized flavors for the US craft beer market drinkers, in incorporation with US favorite beers in MOA's beer, has a high chance of successfully appealing to their taste bud. And by appealing to their consumers' taste and preferences, we hope that it can drive up sales volume. And now we move on to risk and mitigation. So some risks that we face, for the first one, reposition, is that we recognize that there's a short-term cost incurred in the promotional efforts, but in the long run, with the booming US craft beer market, we can achieve long-term sustainable growth. For redistribute, if Miller Coast doesn't work with us, we can actually look into other key players in the market which we have previously discussed. Or we can continue to work with St. Killian but secure more key accounts in trying to appeal to the greater audience. And for Reinvent, limited editions of these new flavors should be released in seasonal, because to prevent novelty of new flavors from running out.
Alright, so now here is the implementation timeline of our three different recommendations. So in sum, it looks a bit complicated here, but in summary, we will start off with repositioning ourselves. That means from 2014 onwards, we'll reposition our image and change our target customers. And slowly from 2015 onwards, we'll slowly introduce. Okay, so between 2014 and 2015, at the same time, we'll start to finalize the details of a redistribution partner, and then from 2015 onwards, we will roll out our new flavors progressively over time. So here are the financials for our recommendations. So here are some key assumptions that we have made while doing this. Firstly is that the average price per litre of MOA beer remains constant throughout the years. This is one of the assumptions that we made. And also, after the implementation of the new flavors of MOA beer, the price of it still remains the same as for its original flavors. And some of the conversion rate, the conversion rate that we use here is that $1 equals to 75 cents US dollar. And lastly, and the next assumption is that you experience a negative 7.52 CAGR in US sales revenue if there's no recommendation, which means business as usual. And the last key assumption is that you experience a 22.16 CAGR in global sales revenue. So if you look at our graph on the left, so over here, if you look at the light blue graph, the BAU will continue to decrease. However, with the implementation of our first two recommendations, you will see an increase in the darker blue, and then the darkest blue at the top is actually with the introduction of new flavors, and you'll see an 81.95% of CAGR. And over here, in terms of the sales volume, in terms of number of liters sold, so similarly as the previous slide, you'll see a growth, light blue portion, which is the first two recommendations, and dark blue portion, which is the last recommendation. So, and that's the end of our presentation.
you. We'll now begin with Q&A.
Sorry. Hi, thanks for your presentation. So, can I understand how do you feel Moa is positioned now, and what is our key value proposition? What sets us apart from other beer?
As in their current positioning.
Yes.
Okay, allow me to take this question. So bringing back all the way to here, no, sorry, over here that I've mentioned. So currently the key value proposition that I believe that is not easily replicable by other competitors in the US market is that the New Zealand story behind it. So there are three parts towards it, which means, which I believe the US millennials actually look out for, which is the brand story behind it, which is over here, firstly, is the New Zealand story of how it come about. Secondly, the story of how the best ingredients are selected from Marlborough, and also the finest water and things. And thirdly, is the finest brewing techniques which create the unique taste to the mouth. So, and the second part of the question is...
For the first part of your question, then to answer the first part of your question, we feel that the current positioning of Moa is the same as how it's positioned in New Zealand, which is to appeal to the high-end consumers of the craft beer, in the craft beer market. And so it's targeted mainly towards the more upper class and upper income, those who actually enjoy to drink craft beers.
So my concern is that, I mean, you propose the reinvent yourself to make yourself more relevant by coming with chocolate, cheese, burger flavors. I am questioning whether this will cause my value proposition to be diluted, and if so, what should I do to ensure that I can communicate a consistent message? What should I do?
I think what Nick just now earlier was trying to say is that we're not just focusing on the high end, but the high end part of it will still be retained. So now we're moving towards, over here we see that so currently what we're seeing is that it's being positioned as a super premium beer targeted at high end consumers. But to do well in the US, what we understand is that it needs to, it shouldn't go into this saturated premium market because there's no point competing at all. So what it needs to do is to position itself to be a little more cool or fun with a story behind it, and these are the three things that we want. So I hope that addresses the question if it dilutes. But
in terms of diluting, whether it will dilute the current premium thing, we are trying to retain this premiumness of craft beer because craft beer is actually viewed as an affordable luxury in the US market by millennials and also non-millennials, and we feel that we can still retain this part of it. But in terms of introducing and injecting new flavors is to cater and appeal to US consumers and also US millennials in particular, to try to get their attention in that, hey, Moa is doing something unique and trying to stand out from the market, trying to get itself recognized in the US market. But in terms of its current, the image that we're trying to propose, which is the premium and also the appeal with story to tell, which will appeal to millennials, we're not trying to compromise the premium image that we're still trying to.
What you're telling me, in New Zealand, I will remain super premium.
Yes.
In US, I will be millennial innovative.
Yeah, because it's like a more localized.
okay, so if I can bring you this all the way to the end, there's one key. There is one key case study that we've actually studied, which is Tiger Beer. So in Singapore, what image that we portray to most people is that, look, it is actually an uncle brand, a coffee shop brand that people drink. And I mean, young people look at Tiger Beer, I don't want to be associated with this. However, Tiger Beer has actually successfully rebranded itself over in Europe, in UK, and you can see from its advertisement, it has made use of key landmarks on the right of this is actually the Big Ben, and on the left is actually in New York. So that's how we can see that we can bring across this.
What I'm trying to say is, since we know the success of Tiger Beer being able to do this, what are you going to tell me to do in order to also be able to create this differentiation and succeed in both places? You've just told me to do it, but how? How do I ensure that I'm able to juggle these two images at the same time?
So in terms of like packaging that is sent to US, we are trying to localize the packaging and everything. So the avenues that we're trying to do, like through promotional efforts, like advertisements and everything, because we understand now Moa's promotional efforts is more like male-centric and a bit politically incorrect. But in terms of how they're going to actually do it in US, we feel that there has to be a change, because now we have to picture it as something that we have to ensure a strong and consistent brand story, which is across all the US product offerings. So in terms of advertisements in US, and also, if need be, the packaging and the beer bottles that are sent to US, have to include this story that we want to tell, instead of just trying to show how male-centric and how premium it is as a brand, which can cater to which still caters to the premium consumers. But now, since we are shifting our focus to the millennials, now we have to do this adjustment in promotional efforts.
I have a question. You mentioned that we are now super premium going to millennials, right?
Yeah.
The challenge I have is we are already targeting millennials, so I don't see that age is things that you are because I'm witty, millennials and super premium, they are not two different target segments. In fact, they overlap, meaning that I can target a millennial who wants to look out for super premium products, and that's what we are doing. So I don't really understand what's the difference. Maybe you can explain.
Because right now, what what we understand about MOA is that it's trying to cater more towards the high-end people, the upper class people, because those the drinkers in the craft beer segment. But what we want to fully distinguish ourselves from in US from our other competitors is that we have to reach out more to this growing segment of millennials, and thus our efforts and our recommendations is target mainly towards the millennials in a way that we want to focus our beer and our attention more on towards the millennials and such. That's why our recommendations have to target this specific group instead of just a broad view of like premium drinkers, which includes millennials. We want to focus into the millennial segment of this premium drinkers. Yeah.
Just to add on this point, the second recommendation we have is also the redistribution side of things. So currently at Whole's Food Market, it's mainly targeted towards certain kind of consumers.
So who, help me understand, because that's my next question. Who shops at Whole Foods?
Go.
The majority of the people who shop at Whole Foods are like women who are like about 40 years old, and Whole Foods only like in 2013 only 6% of the millennials actually shop in Whole Foods, because to millennials it's very expensive and their friends don't go there, that's why they don't go there. And also they don't go to Whole Foods also because like it lacks technology like compared to like Amazon or other alternatives. So at the point of time, only 6% of the millennials go. So even though MOA Beer is like it already targeted millennials, but they are not putting in enough effort because like of their of the distribution channels.
So help me understand, where do millennials shop and the partnership with Miller Coors, how does it help us reach the millennials better?
So the partnership with Miller Coors is that we recognize that Miller Coors is
Can we understand the first question first? Where do millennials shop?
okay.
They shop in lower price range places like Target or Walmart, where they have a huge selection of things, of items, and also of a lower price range.
And sorry, I cut you off the Miller Coors partnership.
Yeah. So the Miller it incorporates both parts of the question. So for the Miller Coors partnership, the reason why we choose to partner with Miller Coors and to actually change our distributorship is because we want to cater and reach out to more millennials and also consumers as part of our expansion efforts. So we believe that Miller Coors can offer us a wider distribution channel in terms of catering to more millennials. It's not specific in terms of like which key accounts I want to secure with Miller Coors as compared to St. Killian, but more of like we're tapping on its vast distribution networks to actually distribute out. And so because we understand that from their high key percent market share for Miller Coors, that's why we postulate that we can actually tap on it to actually cater to more of the audience.
So the last question is, Miller Coors is $5 billion US. Your business in US is $300,000 US. Why would Miller Coors want to partner with you, even if you are tiny versus them? And will you be able to, if you partner with them, you go into the 1,000 stores that they are in, will you be able to supply them with 1,000 bottles of beer?
From our understanding of the key players in the market is that between Miller Coors, Crown Imports and ABI, we didn't choose to partner with ABI because they already have their Budweiser brands in craft beers, in the craft beer segment. So why we actually want to partner with Miller Coors is because they are still developing their Tap and Plate, which is their new craft focused division, and we're trying to propose to them that MOA is a award-winning beer, and that you don't have to really invest so much and to develop all their, because from our understanding now is that they're trying to pull together all their marketing things and everything to form this talent big. But we're trying to offer them, even though we are a small company or whatsoever, but they're trying to offer this big company that actually a beer that can actually help to further add value add to their company without having to gain a little pie of the market share. Because their main competitor ABI has already put together efforts to tackle the growing segment in the craft beer market in the US. So in terms of if Miller Coors actually doesn't want to partner with us because of how small and relative we are, we can still aim at Pound Sports, which is a significant lower market share. But yeah, it's all part of the expansion efforts to actually.
So if you make the same question, right? If you are 28% market share,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that Miller Coors is a US-based company. The overseas sales are low, so I'm assuming that their 4.8 billion in revenue is from US. Crown, at one quarter the size, will be a $1 billion company. Why would they still want to partner with you? That's the question. When you are 100 times, 10,000 times, or 100,000 times smaller, how big the business is? So, I think what we're saying is, since Miller Coors is also coming up with their own craft, we are not so certain, we're not sure whether we will actually decide to work with you. But let's just say that they do decide. So, how do you envision this partnership taking place? Can you give me more details? So, do I sell it to them from New Zealand? Do we produce it in the US?
Because Moa actually strongly believes in it producing in New Zealand, which is Marlborough, because they want to keep the authenticity and of their beers and everything. So what Miller Coors how the partnership works is actually Miller Coors will import from as how St. Kilda is doing now, import from New Zealand and actually distribute to US.
And hence, this would also then limit to the geographies which you can distribute to within US, right? I'm going to import wholesale from New Zealand. In terms of geography, I'm not going to be able to get to as many channels as what Miller Coors currently has throughout US because its current production, perhaps it has multiple production factories, etc. So I'm just saying that this could impact, you will have to consider how the specifics of this partnership will work. I mean, saying that we can partner is good. Selling me that we can partner is step one, but then you need to tell me then how it will work and how it will come to our mutual benefit.
I think we have come to the end of Q&A due to the time constraints. So thank you.